In retrospect, challenging the constitutionality of segregated schools seems like it would have been the obvious course of action. But in that period of time, the wisdom of a constitutional challenge had been hotly debated within the NAACP and among its lawyers. The legal team had for years taken the approach of arguing that the separate schools were not equal, and thus they were illegal, instead of arguing that the separate nature of the schools was unconstitutional in the first place. The original complaint in Briggs versus Elliott had been carefully drawn to avoid the argument, but separate but equal was unconstitutional. And in November of 1950, when Thurgood Marshall and his co-counsel came to Charleston for pretrial hearings in front of federal Judge Wadis Waring, Judge Waring publicly challenged Marshall to confront separate but equal head-on. He challenged Marshall to attack it on constitutional grounds rather than on the grounds that the separate schools were not equal. Now, most people, even lawyers, have never even heard of Judge J. Wadis Waring, who was a federal district judge here in South Carolina in the old Eastern District from 1942 to 1952. Yet Wadis Waring was a man fully capable of exerting influence over the giant that Thurgood Marshall had become even by the fall of 1950. Judge Waring had made several bold decisions in early civil rights cases that shook the foundations of the society that Judge Waring had come from and shocked the political and social landscape of the South and really throughout the nation. Just Judge Waring's legal decisions would have made it clear to Marshall that Judge Waring was a man of courage, but there was more. All great men and women face loneliness, but the extent to which Wadis Waring was ostracized by his friends, by the city of Charleston, by the legal community, and by the state of South Carolina might be unprecedented. Senator Hollings, as you all know, published a book several years ago called Making Government Work, and in that book he talks about Wadis Waring. He says that Judge Waring was absolutely reviled. He says that Judge Waring and his wife were verbally abused and blistered in newspaper editorials and that their home was vandalized. From other sources, I have learned that it got so bad that Congressman Mendel Rivers and Brian Dorn publicly called for Judge Waring to be impeached, and that led to a petition that was signed by 20,000 South Carolinians calling for Judge Waring to be impeached. In one seemingly humorous incident when lightning struck the house next door to Judge Waring's vacation home on Sullivan's Island, the man who lived in the house posted a big sign on the roof of it that said, "Dear God, Judge Waring lives next door." And yet, Judge Waring boldly and publicly pushed Marshall to attack separate but equal schools on a constitutional basis, knowing that doing so would put him in the position of being further ostracized, if not putting his life in danger. But it's not just that I or someone else might look back on this and say that Judge Waring was a courageous man who acted courageously in the face of adversity. In August of 1948, Time magazine published an article on Judge Waring entitled "The Man They Love to Hate." The article describes Judge Waring as cold-eyed in the face of the bitterness that his own city of Charleston had spent on him. And then it quotes him from one of his early civil rights cases saying, "It is a disgrace when you have to come to court and have a judge tell you how to be an American." In closing the article, Time magazine predicts that Judge J. Wadis Waring will be remembered as a man of cool courage,